The recent shooting death of Berlin terror suspect Amir by Italian police in Milan has raised many questions about European security gaps. Joining us now to discuss is WSJ reporter Matthew Dalton in Paris. Hi, Matthew. Thanks for being with us. First off, do we know how Amir made it across two EU borders to Milan?
Still not clear. He seems to have come from France to Italy. There are some indications that he had a number of train tickets or train ticket receipts showing that he took the train across the border from Chambly in France to Italy. But investigators haven't been more clear about how he was able to get to France from Germany or any other detail about what he did after plowing the truck into that Christmas market in Berlin.
And so they didn't reveal that they found any fake passports or fake IDs on him or anything like that?
No more details yet. We know that in the past, he used some fake identification, a number of different aliases, but nothing on him or nothing that they've disclosed.
Right. All right. So in general, what kind of border security exists between EU countries at the moment?
Very little. Generally speaking, you can cross European borders without any border controls. Most of Europe is covered by something called the Schengen area, which allows for border-free Europe across more than 20 nations in Europe. After the Paris attacks last year, governments, France and a number of others, started to impose sporadic border checks on cars moving back and forth and train travelers, and those checks have continued. But generally speaking, they're random. They're not that frequent. They did tighten them a little bit after the Berlin attack recently, but that apparently didn't stop Amir from moving out of Germany and into Italy somehow.
And now, my understanding is we do not yet know, or at least officials have not revealed, his motives for going to Milan, but the suspect had spent time in an Italian prison, correct, and reportedly spoke Italian. So after being released from prison, was he being tracked?
He apparently wasn't being tracked. He was released from prison in 2015. He'd spent time in several different Italian prisons. He was told by the Italian authorities to leave. However, he didn't obey that order, and the Italians seem to have not made much attempt to enforce it. After that, they lost track of him, and like many migrants at the time, in the summer of 2015, he headed towards Germany. The country was overwhelmed by this huge influx of migrants, most of them coming from the Middle East, many from Syria, many of them legitimate refugees, asylum seekers. He was not one of them.
So this seems to be a problem, especially for Germany, according to officials. Isn't that right? Who say evidence has mounted this year that Islamic State sent dozens of operatives to Europe and particularly Germany in the past 2 years?
Yeah, the Paris attacks and the Brussels attacks have shown that at least 24, probably more, were sent by Islamic State amidst the refugee flows. They continue to arrest people. They continue to find people who they admitted into the country. They didn't screen them at the time. There were very limited security checks. Now they're going back, looking at phone records, interviewing people they've already arrested to discover further connections, and they're finding that a small but significant number of these people do have connections to Islamic State and appear to be Islamic State operatives. Now, Amir may or may not fall into this category. It's unclear. His movements, his precise movements are unclear. It seems to me more likely that he was somebody who was radicalized by Islamic State propaganda and perhaps had direct contact with Islamic State via the internet, but it was not somebody who actually went to Syria like the operatives who carried out the Paris and the Brussels attacks.
Right. Now, it seems, according to your story, that there's also a big problem for European security in getting the people who are designated for deportation actually deported. correct? There are thousands of people that are still supposed to be deported that have not yet been so?
That's right. There are a lot of people coming to Europe claiming asylum, and they, like Mr. Amri, who are Tunisian, who are not from a country that is at war or where the people are in need of protection of asylum, and so they're told to leave. However, frequently the authorities overseas refuse to accept these people back, and so that does put the Europeans in a bit of a tight spot. They can't forcibly send somebody back if the country refuses to accept them. Now, the problem with Germany is that they have very strict rules about how long they can detain people while they're trying to deport them. And so Germany, they let him go after they were unable to deport him. This is a problem that countries all around the world face, including the United States. The U.S. has lots of people who it tries to deport to countries that aren't willing to accept him. The U.S., however, can detain people for 6 months in that position. And in Germany, they can only detain them for a matter of days before being forced to release them.
So definitely there are lots of security issues in Europe and here in the U.S. that I'm sure officials will be taking a much closer look at in the days ahead. Matthew Dalton in Paris, thank you so much for that.
Thank you.